Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I did a video which became quite controversial, and I just want to go through some of the comments. Maybe I shouldn't have done this video. I might delete it actually. What do you think? Leave your comments down below. Should I delete this video? Because I think it offended a few people, but I just wanted to be realistic. It also was partly ironic. I think the video it was partly tongue in cheek. So let me explain. Maybe I did it for clickbait reasons because my channel is struggling and I've not got many subscribers. I think you need like 100k plus subs to make reasonable money out of you. Start making reasonable money out of YouTube. I've only got I don't really do it properly or seriously. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult to make money out of YouTube. The whole chess thing is saturated now. People are just doing the same videos. So unless you put a lot of thought into it and effort into it, so I might stop doing these clickbait because they're a bit cynical, aren't they? I don't like the cynicism of it, and I do think chess players now are viewed as almost like performing monkeys. I get all these comments like, "You should do a stream." Why? Why? Why should I do a stream? What am I? You're performing monkey. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the thing. Performing like puppet. Um, But I already explained in other videos why I don't do streaming, which is people don't listen. They don't bother to read your comments. They don't bother to listen to your comments. Why I don't do streaming is because I get addicted to playing. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off a little bit of a tangent. Let's talk about some of the comments. So one of the comments was, I do like the comments actually. It's one of my favourite things about YouTube is the comments, the feedback, the interaction. Thank you for your advice. I think most adult players need to exercise their visual memory. So what I said in the video was that, which is partly true, is that it's obviously more difficult to improve when you're older at chess, right? Which I think most people understand. When you're younger, you're like a sponge. You're soaking up information. You've also got less things in your life that are pulling at you. So you've got more time to devote to chess. You tend to have that kind of more obsessional nature anyway when you're younger. When you're older, you're more like chilled and like, well, I do this or I do that. It doesn't really matter. When you're younger, you're more focused. So, and things seem more exciting to you. Certainly that was the case with me. Chess seemed more exciting than it does now. Now I feel like I'm going through the motions to some extent. So it says, thank you for your advice. I think that most adult players need to exercise their visual memory because calculation really is just being able to visualise possible outcomes on the board, and young people can do that with more ease. Yeah, that's true. I mean, calculation is a very important part of chess. Um, I do think my calculations got worse as I've got older. Just I find it harder to get from A to B now. With calculation, sometimes I get a bit lost. But I'm still good at calculation. But it's not. Yeah, it doesn't come as easily. So yeah, when you get older, you need to work on your calculation more. But at any age, you need to work on your calculation. So Enrique Newshed, I'm 43, started 1.5 years ago and I'm stuck at 900 rapid. I was frustrated about that, but one's got to be realistic. Super GMs are like NBA players, normal GMs and IMs are like college league players. Yeah, I have no idea about basketball, so I can, to give a possible comparison. I played for England, which, chess, which is something to be proud of. That was around about 2005, 2006. So obviously at that point I was in the top 10 in the country. Um, in fact, I was number 4 out of active players. So obviously if you're a Premier League footballer, you'd be right up there, wouldn't you? Maybe it'd be like a Nicky Butt level or something like that. I wouldn't be like Wayne Rooney, but like Michael Adams is like Wayne Rooney. But maybe I'll be like a squad player or something like that. But yeah, decent squad player. But yeah, obviously in terms of getting to the elite level, that's different. Anyway, let's carry on with his comment. You can't expect to play well, not even half good as these people, if you start late in life. I agree with you. I think You know, let's say you took up tennis when you're 25. Now, you might be very talented at tennis, or you might start working hard at tennis when you're 25, but you're not going to play in a Wimbledon final with Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner. It's just not going to happen. And I don't see why it should be any different with chess. But I do think you can improve, at chess. So that was maybe the comment that I should have really made more clear in the video. That of course you can improve at chess. It's just harder to improve, and possibly there's a ceiling where you can't get beyond once you start later. There's no point to me either to become obsessed with chess at my age. I'm not going much further than I am now, even if I throw out my professional duties, families, and whatever else to only study and play chess. That is how reality goes, and we only have this one life. I will just carry on raging, laughing at my blunders. Yeah, I think most people, it's like, I know I can't be Magnus Carlsen now. I'm not going to be 2700, 2800, but I'm still a good player. It's all like levels that you want to aim for, right? So it's not about, necessarily being world champion, because there's 7 billion humans on the planet, and obviously the chances that you're going to be world chess champion are statistically pretty low. So everybody's got stuff that they aim for. So in a way, I'm in the same boat as amateurs. I'm not going to be the world number one, but at the same time, there's goals that I set myself. I want to play good chess and, achieve and win big tournaments. Someone said, nice little speech. However, this won't transform anyone's career. He spoke for 5 minutes to say this. Start young, work hard. What an advice. Yeah. Well, the point was that I mentioned, is kind of trying to be ironic, the video. Maybe I didn't make that clear. Because there's a lot of videos on YouTube where, just YouTube, I think it's a bit of a lie, they make out that, you do this and you do that and you're going to get to that level. I think like with chess and chess improvement, most of it's down to yourself, Coaching can be one thing, but overall, most of your improvement is going to come from yourself and not from anyone else, not from watching videos. It's from doing hard work, from sitting at home, looking through chess games, playing through chess games on a chessboard, playing through chess games on a computer, doing studies, playing games. So that was kind of the point I was trying to make across in the video, in a way, in an ironic way, but obviously didn't come across very well. I think, to be as honest as you are, this is from Al Pincott. I think, to be honest, as you're a very strong player and pro, you don't seem to have much idea about the motivations that an amateur player might have. The kind of enjoyment I get out of improving at chess is a different kind of thing. Well, as I just stated, I completely agree with that, because, like I say, I'm in the same boat as an amateur player in a way, in a sense. I'm not going to get to play the elite tournaments now. But, I've still got motivations. I'm a grandmaster, which obviously a lot of players would be very happy about. So I'm also trying to improve at chess. It's just more difficult when you're older to improve. Yeah, absolutely. I do think over the last few years I've become more conscious of what amateur players need to do, and I've enjoyed trying to help some amateur players try to improve. This is one of the things I noticed when I did a Chessable course, and this guy Gert, he used to be the CEO of Chessable, but he's now moved on to other things. He explained to me that a lot of the stuff that I was writing was really aimed at players at my own level, whereas most people reading the Chessable courses are amateur players, low-rated amateur players. In a lot of cases, they're not title players. So they don't really understand what you're saying. So you have to kind of dumb down a lot. And that's something that I thought about, and that's something that I changed in my writing. And also I thought a lot about what it is that amateur players need to improve. And I've explained that in my videos. Okay, so next one we're going to get a look at is, I'm an adult of middle age. I think the reason why I didn't improve for a long time was just working on stuff out of order. For instance, calculation without actual proper pattern recognition. My goal is NM strength. I don't know how I can do it. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm confident I can. National master. That is. I don't really know what that is, to be honest. I mean, I've heard of it, but I think there's candidate masters, national. Maybe that's an American term. But I'm confident I can raise myself to the top 90% even at my age. Yeah. Also, didn't truly analyse my own games for the first few years. I started to play chess again during the pandemic. Yeah, so good luck to that guy. Do you think with amateur players they spend too long playing random blitz games online? I noticed that with some students I had, and they were spending too long playing random blitz games. So what you'd be better off doing is possibly having, like, say if you're spending 2 or 3 hours a night playing random blitz games, or when you are playing, you're spending maybe 2 or 3 hours. You'd be better off playing rapid play games and then analysing those rapid play games afterwards. Or even if you play blitz, analyse the games and analyse the openings, because often people just fall into that trap of playing games over and over again and they're losing in the same way and they don't learn. That's what chess is all about. It's about learning, about accruing knowledge for me. That's what makes it an interesting game. All the studies show that you can't really get much better. I did get a lot of comments here. This could take me a while. I need to get some food at some point. It's like Saturday morning. Saturday night. Dance, I like the way you move. All the studies show that you can't really get much better at chess if you begin past the age of 12. Some people might have a slightly larger window than others and can start later. But generally it's about 12 or so. I started playing quite a bit at age 17. I seem to be topping out around 2150 USCF. So that's United States Chess Federation rating. Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that with a lot of amateur players. There's a sort of ceiling they can't get by. Why can't they get by that ceiling? And I think, like I say, there might be think that they are working hard, but maybe they're not working hard enough. And I do think you can improve a lot when you're older, actually, but it's just very rare that people will put that amount of work in. I mean, one way Jonathan Hawkins improved. So Jonathan Hawkins was quite a good amateur player, but he wasn't like a very good amateur player. He was sort of like about 190 level, but he improved a lot in his sort of late teens, early 20s. And the way he improved, which he explained in his book, From Amateur to IM. So he got the GM level, he was like 25, like high 2500, won the British Championship. It was an amazing achievement for somebody who was like a late improver. But he used to write down variations. He'd get endgame positions and write down the variations, and that really improved his calculation a lot. So yeah, working on your calculation is very key actually to making serious improvement. And you got to have like focused improvement. There have been quite a few studies that prove it's impossible. You can gain hundreds of points as an adult, but that's just because you're going from being rated 900 to rated 1400. Right? Yeah, absolutely. It's easier to improve obviously at the lower levels, but I promise you're not going to become a national master. Well, I don't completely agree with that. Like I say, I think it can happen, but you probably need to start from a higher letter ceiling. Yeah, you're probably right in that sense. You probably need to. Like I say, I mentioned Hawkins, but Hawkins was a good player. It wasn't like he was a total beginner. I mean, someone like Stanley Badaksconi, who's actually was coached by Hawkins, and when he first started coaching Stanley was like a complete patzer, really. But because he played so much online during the pandemic, and obviously he was getting coaching and he was studying and doing all this and that and playing a lot over the board as well eventually, he improved a lot. And that was a lot, obviously that lot was down to Hawkins' coaching as well. But he started at a young age, obviously Stanley was young when this all happened. He was like 10 or 11 or whatever, 12, So it's harder when you're younger because you don't have that time, you don't have that obsession. Maybe your brain, I don't know what it is with your brain, but your brain probably doesn't absorb so much information. People mention this. I agree, you just have to play all the time when you're young. I learned how to play chess when I was about 13, and probably at my peak I was around a 1900 plus level in my mid-20s. Always thought if I learned how to play around age 6 or 7, I could have reached a master level. By the time I was in my 30s, other priorities took over: career, marriage, children, etc. Now I'm almost 60 and play maybe a game or two each week online. I might be around a 1700 player. I enjoy spectating good chess matches between top players and doing chess puzzles more than actual playing. Yeah, that's an interesting point as well. I'm like the same, to be honest. I don't really enjoy the pressure of playing. I enjoy studying chess more. I enjoy like looking through games, watching games, maybe doing puzzles online more than I enjoy playing online. Yeah, I don't. That's why I say, I don't do much of streaming the title Tuesday. I don't enjoy playing online. I find it's nerve wracking. Whereas if you're playing like a puzzle rush, it's not really nerve wracking, is it? You're just playing against yourself. I've been playing chess as an adult improver for 3 years. Gone from beginner to 1600 elo off the back of a half an hour to 1 hour a day. Half an hour. So I think it should be half an, not and. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Philip Bates. I think you can improve as an adult. I think it takes longer. Yeah, and there's probably a ceiling that you hit eventually. Yeah, that's what I mentioned before. All the younger players. If you look at the top players in the world, like say the top 30 or whatever, they all basically they've done chess their whole lives. They started when they were young. They were very good when they were young, and that is that's really a fact. That's what you have to do if you want to be at the absolute top level. Possibly if you want to make like IM or GM, it might be slightly different. But I think to actually get to the elite level, obviously a lot of people are just trying to improve, right? What's someone else mentioned earlier in the comments. When I was around 1400 in my early 20s, after a long break for work, etc., at 60 plus, I'm pushing 1500. Initially, this was very frustrating. If you compare the resources available in my 20s with what I have available now, it's chalk and cheese. Surely all this stuff with many hours of effort must yield better results, but nope. So I suspect you're right. Fortunately, I now see chess as a means to keep the brain active and a decent hobby. People forget just how crystal clear and empty young brains are. That's a very good point. Once they are full, there isn't much leverage for packing more in. I also think as you age, human factors kick in to a greater and greater extent. I'm not talking about holy stuff, but you develop ways of thinking in general that prove valuable in life, but not. Let's just carry on. So great for chess. So yeah, I think he's got some valid points there. I do think, maybe this is where coaching can be helpful. Is that if I coach people and say, look, this is where you're going wrong in terms of your whole method, and this is where I feel like you can improve. Right, in terms of this is what you should be doing, this is what you shouldn't be doing, sort of thing. So that is where coaching can be useful, I think, because he seems to suggest that I'm putting the hours in, but I'm not improving at all. Well, I mean, you should be improving a little bit. I don't know how old this person is. It's 60 plus. He said, yeah, it's harder to improve when you're older, yeah, and there's some sort of mental decline that happens. Probably past 50, that also could impact your ability to progress. So, yeah, anyway, interesting points. With an exception of a couple of minor school competitions, I only really took chess up properly at 19. My first grade was ECF 56, around 1100 ELO. Since then, I peaked at about 2000, and in recent years, I've generally hovered around 1900. So yes, it's definitely possible to improve significantly as an adult. Yeah, maybe that whole point about your first ECF or your first rating is quite relevant, because I'm sure my first rating was quite a lot higher than 56. It was about 100 odd. I was probably about 10 or 11 at the time, maybe 11 or 12, and I didn't really play any junior chess. I didn't play much much junior chess at all really, and didn't play any junior chess. I remember a guy called David Brown. Was it David Brown? It's the father of Simon Brown, who's also a chess player. And he said to me at some event, I can't remember what it was. It might have actually been some kind of Kent event or Kent Junior or something. Maybe I did play juniors. And he said, you could play for England. And I was like, what's he going on about? I'm rubbish. I remember thinking that. But he obviously spotted that I had some talent. So, yeah, that was interesting. But, yeah. So maybe the level you start off at, is an indicator for where you're going to end up. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you. Yeah, nice thumbnail, looking scholarly. Why bother eating a whole sandwich? Third bite and after will never be as good as the first two. Tip to improve, you can't. Lol. Yeah. How do you explain Matthias Blueboom, who at 28 is qualified for the Canadas, if his strength was set in his teens? However, I should point out that Matthias Bluebaum has been a very strong grandmaster for a number of years. You know, I think he's not like he's just come out of nowhere. I mean, he's 2600 odd for many, many years. So I'm not sure that's a great example. However, he is a good example why you don't necessarily need coaching, why it's more about yourself. If you know, like I said before, I think with a lot of amateur players, they don't know which path to go down, and often they do the wrong things. With a professional player, that's much less likely that will be the case. So with someone like Bluebaum, he's probably had coaching before. He knows how to train on chess. He knows how to train on chess himself, but mainly it's down to himself. You know, mainly the talent is there from yourself, right? Yeah, so he's done very well. And I think a lot of these top players, there's a lot of talent out there in chess, and a lot of it is about, well, look, I did that wrong before, and this is how I'm going to do it better in future. And once they do that, then they become very dangerous, and that's what's happened with Bluebaum, I think. So out of interest, if you could go back 30 years or whatever it is, do you do the 6 hours regiment per day? Very interesting comment to really push it. Or do you do the same as first time around, or do less than first time doing? I think now, that's a very interesting comment, relevant not just to my career, but also to my life. I think now I'll do something else rather than do chess, because I feel like now I want to get away from chess anyway, because chess is something that it just doesn't pay well, and it's not very rewarding in many ways. It's quite antisocial as an activity. I've also mentioned before that I feel like chess is one of the few activities where your colleagues not only don't support you, they actually try to destroy you. They want to beat you, right? They don't care about you. They just want to beat you over the board, right? Like other professions, you get supported by your colleagues. If you work in teaching or you're a doctor or whatever, in chess, it's the opposite. You know, they want to destroy you, right? Because you're their rival, you're their enemy. You know, it's not a team sport, so it's an individual sport. So would I do something else? Yeah, absolutely. And I would do the 6 hour. That's another good point. Yeah, when I think back to, shared a flat in Crystal Palace with Simon Williams. That was the late 1990s, right? And we did the British Championships around about that point in Scarborough. Drove up. John Naylor was living there. That was the time when I really should have knuckled down and been doing 6 hours a day, you know, and doing it really, really seriously. And I would have taken off, you know, I would have been a proper player. I think I would have been 2600 plus. I don't think I ever had the potential to be 2700, I'll be totally honest with you. But I think I could have got 2600 plus. Because I got the 2573, but, you know, I never got beyond that. And I think I didn't do enough work on the opening phase of the game. My openings kind of got set earlier in my career, and I didn't really work on the weaknesses in my openings, like the Bishop G5 Najdorf that I was struggling against and stuff like that. And as I mentioned before, when I played British Championships and I failed, I haven't taken the lessons from that failure and then put it into future British Championships. I think someone like Jonathan Rowson did, other players did, but I didn't take the lessons, and I just carried on doing the same thing. I was socialising too much, I was drinking too much, and now I regret all that because I'm older and I'm starting to run out of time. So yeah, very interesting point. You can talk about that for a long time. Just hire Magnus as your coach. He is no longer playing classical. He has more time now to coach. Very interesting point. Yeah, but I think he may be partly joking, this guy, and I don't have the money to hire Magnus as a coach. Magnus is obviously one of the best players in the world. Well, he is the best player in the world, but he would cost a lot. I don't know how much he would cost to hire him as a coach, and probably something like $2,000 an hour, I would guess. You know, it'd be a lot of money anyway. So unless I won a Euro Millions, that's not realistic. I do think with coaching, I'll be honest, I think a lot of professional players, they do it for the money. I do it partly for the money, but also quite enjoy helping people as well. I mean, you have to be completely honest and say, you know, if you won the lottery, I probably wouldn't do chess coaching ever again. You know, it's like if you're a teacher, you're probably never going to do chess coaching again. So it's partly for the money, but I also quite enjoy. I get these itchy legs. Actually, it might be a diabetes thing or whatever, or I think it can also be a change of temperature thing. But yeah, I think I quite enjoy although actually seen improvement, serious improvement. I'll be honest, hasn't, unless they're younger, hasn't really happened. when I've been a coach. So maybe partly my coaching. But I do normally notice when I work with people, they get an initial bump where they improve initially. But in terms of actual, like I said before, I do think with the coaching, I didn't really have any coaching when I was younger, and it didn't really do me any harm. I still got to GM. I do think most of it is down to yourself, right? Although if I'd have had coaching from, say, like a Dvoretsky or something like that when I was younger, it would have made a serious impact on my career, and I probably would have been a serious chess player. And I would have known how to work, and you've got to basically put the hours in. I mentioned before that when I shared a flat with Mark Hebden recently at a tournament in Northumbria, in Darlington, and I was impressed. The guy's in his late 60s and he's working hard on chess still. In the evening, he's got the computer out and he's collating the games and he's putting the games into a separate file. He's got all these different files where he can bring the games down, and then he's preparing in the morning. And I think that's good inspiration. You have to work hard if you want to succeed. At chess, doesn't matter what level you're at. I think for many years I was actually quite complacent because I got the GM title. What were my goals? Were my ambitions? I didn't really have. I knew I wasn't going to become world champion, but I was a GM, so what was my ambition? And I think it's only more in recent years I actually realised winning tournaments is a big thing. I won the British Rapid Play last year. That was a big thing for me because it showed that I was still a good player. Coaching in schools as well, I find quite satisfying in a way because you're helping younger players, and also they can improve more when they're younger. So I find coaching in schools has always been something that I've enjoyed doing. Watching them improve is satisfying. Like I say, with someone like Hawkins, some of his students have improved a lot as well. So that must be satisfying for him. Right, Nicholas Sketos, not worth it. So this is Nick Scott. This is the only person I know in real life, actually. Nick Scott, he's a nice guy, actually. He lives in Scotland. But he's obviously got, is it Greek or Cypriot ancestry? I can't remember. I think maybe Cypriot. Not worth it. Shared second in an Open with 4 out of 5 undefeated with just one more player. Didn't even break my entry fee. Some of his statuses are hilarious, actually, about when he's complaining about what he's done and how much he's spent and all that. Shared second in Open, 4 out of 5 undefeated with just one more player. Didn't he? Yeah, that is a problem now when you play weekend tournaments. It's a lot of money that you're paying out, and and you're not necessarily getting anything back, right? A lot of tournaments now. It was a tournament that I could have played this weekend, actually. I probably should have played it. I played it before in Northumbria. It's in North Shields. But I kind of feel like I'm a little bit. I just want to have a little break from chess, to be honest, at the moment, because I played a lot early in the year and I feel like I'm a little bit burnt out. I want to get a bit of motivation back for tournaments later in the year. So I'm kind of having a little bit of a break at the moment, focusing on other stuff like writing. But yeah, I feel like I agree with it. But that's a tournament that I can make a profit from because it's not much in terms of travel. But you still have to pay the hotel for a couple of nights probably because it's too far to commute realistically. So yeah. So that's the tournament you can make a profit out. You pay the entry fee and then you pay the 2 nights hotel. So that's it. And then I think it was 400 last year that I won. So I did make a reasonable profit out of that. But in general, a lot of weekenders, you're spending a lot of money to get there. And you're paying a hotel and you're paying the entry fee. And that's me as a GM. There's a lot of players who play in these tournaments who aren't realistically going to win these tournaments, right? And I think it's unfair that people in a minor or major are making more than, say, like a mid-level player in an Open. I mean, they're potentially making more money because they're one of the top players in the major. They're winning prizes that say like a 2000 player in the Open isn't winning. I don't think that's necessarily fair. I mean, I think they should just do one big tournament and you should have rating prizes, or stuff like that. I don't know how you should do it. I suppose that would amount to the same thing, wouldn't it? Rarely worth it financially. Certainly not weekend congresses. Most do it for love of the game, or yeah, people love chess. I mean, that's why I love chess. It's an enjoyable game. It's a great mental challenge, right? And it's a real battle. That's what. But also at the same time, there is a limit to how much you love it. So that's why I was sort of like having a break at the moment because I'm yeah, I'm sort of feel like I'm a little bit burnt out with all the playing. So because I played a lot earlier in the year compared to what I normally play, and then you're like, well, I wasn't playing that great. I played Brighton, I didn't play that great there. I played well at the start of the tournament, but didn't play well towards the end. I got a bit tired. So have a little break and then get a bit of motivation back. Do some work on your chess. This is horrible advice. You can truly get much better if you get a coach. So I kind of agree. Well, I don't agree it's horrible advice because I'd say I was trying to be ironic anyway. You can truly get much better if you get a coach. Yeah, I agree with that. I think coaching can help you, point you in the right direction. If you know how to improve, you can improve much faster. You definitely have to work very hard, but it's false that you can't improve at an adult level. Yeah, I agree with you. I was trying to be ironic with the video. But in a way, I was kind of right as well. That if you really, really want to get very, very good, you have to start, if you want to be an elite player. Obviously, I didn't really do the video. It was kind of like I say, it was an ironic. I was tongue in cheek, but obviously because I'm doing it in a subtle way, people aren't getting that humour, right? I've grown 700 points a year, and I'm 32 years old, and I started playing seriously a couple of years ago. Well played, yeah. Maybe, yeah. His name is Jamie Booth. I'll have a look at check out his FIDE later. I started chess during 2020 lockdown, and I got to 2100, and now I'm 19, hoping to get a title. Do you think I will stop improving because I'm an adult now? What did I write? 2100 or FIDE. If it's a latter, you have really good chance. Yeah, because when they say 2100, possibly what they mean is 2100 online, or do they mean FIDE? Because I feel like there's a big difference between being 2100 online and being 2100 FIDE, right? 2100 online isn't necessarily as good as 2100 player FIDE, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, so Sauron makes that comment. Sauron. I don't know if it is the Sauron, from Lord of the Rings. That being said, you won't stop improving, but it will likely become more difficult for you to devote time to study chess. If you're able to balance other aspects of your life in chess, then there is no harm in trying to reach a title, though. You'll stop improving because there is no money in chess, and you'll need lots of money in the future. Yeah. You do need money to play tournaments. That's true. But I don't think that necessarily stops you improving because you can study online. You can study at home. I do think in terms of playing a lot, it does cost money. Yeah, it's true. In terms of playing. But I do also think, in terms of getting better, you do need to play over the board because, as I said, practical experience is very, very important. It's going to sink in more if you get it over the board than if you can do all the preparation you want at home. But until you actually get that position and you lose that position, that's why I said before, it's so important that you learn from your mistakes, because if you don't, you're just going to keep doing the same mistakes. And even players like myself, who are professional players, experienced players, we make the same mistakes all the time. And we keep repeating the same mistakes and we wonder why we don't improve. And, it's because you're not learning from, I played a tournament like years ago. My whole life now just seems like a dream, right? But I played a tournament and I was kind of annoyed actually because I played the London Chess Classic, Malcolm Payne, right? He would organise this English knockout championships. And I never got a direct invite, which pissed me off. And the reason why it pissed me off was because I thought, well, when I was good like in English chess, like back in the early, mid 2000s or early 2000s, I never got these tournaments. But as soon as they organised these tournaments, I never got them either. I would have got an invite probably back in those days. But I think he wanted to focus on younger players. So people like Alan Merry would get an invite. And I think, well, Alan Merry's not a better player than me. Why is he getting an invite? I never got an invite. And You know, obviously he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, Anna Merry. A lot of these people are good players. You know. But they're younger. That was the point. So they could necessarily improve more. But obviously, just because you're younger, you aren't necessarily going to improve past older players. You know. But you've got to focus on youth. You've got to try to give them that opportunity, which I agree with. But at the time, it pissed me off. So I agree with it now. But at the time, it pissed me off. So anyway, it was the tournament in Telford I played, and it was like a qualifier as well for this tournament. So you could qualify. But I was like, well, I'm not getting a direct invite for these events, right? I should just get a direct invite. But I was like a qualifier, and I didn't qualify. And I remember I lost a game at the end against Ravi Haria. And there were other games where I struggled in. And I think Daniel Fernandez was playing that tournament as well. Simon Williams. I think Simon Williams, maybe he did qualify actually through that tournament. It was in Telford. And I remember I had a quick draw. I lost to Ravi in round 8, and then I had a quick draw in the last round against an Indian player, which I shouldn't have done. I was white and I was high rated. And I should just, and he was kind of a little bit surprised that, you know, I offered him a quick draw. I think he thought about it as well, you know, because obviously he still wanted to play a game, but he agreed to a quick draw. But then I sludged off to the station, sort of trudged off to the station. But I remember thinking about the tournament afterwards, and I was thinking, because it really pissed me off how badly I did, and the fact I didn't qualify. And I remember thinking that I lacked patience. When I looked at the games, I was lacking patience for those games. You know, that was something that I needed to be much more patient. And something I need to do now as well. I need to be much more patient. I lack patience as a player. So I looked at those games and I really implemented that into my chess over the next few months. And actually I did see some uptick in my results. So I think if you do think very deeply about why you're going wrong, what you're doing wrong, and I do think that coaching can help in that respect as well. So it's not just about hard work. It's also about thinking a lot about how to improve, about how you can improve personally, because everyone's got different tendencies, different styles and different weaknesses. And like I say, I do think a coach can help you a lot with that anyway. That is my video, because I wanted to talk about that, because I think it's a very interesting subject about the whole adult improver thing. Yeah. And please leave your comments down below for this video as well, but I probably won't be doing a feedback on a feedback video. But I thought it was interesting to talk about it, because normally I don't talk about the comments, but they were so interesting for that video. I wanted to talk about a little bit more, explain why I made that video, and explain why, you know, I was trying to be ironic in that video. I wasn't necessarily being serious. Sometimes I just do video. I'll just have this thought that I'm going to do a video, and then I'll just do a video. I don't really plan them. I just do them like, you know, what's the word? You know, I just sort of want to do a video, and then I do the video, and then I think if I don't do the video now, I'm going to forget about it, like in a couple of days. So I do the video. Anyway, leave your comments down below. Please like and subscribe and so on. Thanks again for watching the video.